I'm interested. You mentioned some leading questions to unpack the buyer depth. What are some of those questions? Like, what are some of the things to pull that out of the agent to understand their buyer pool that they've got?
Yeah, so I mean, a phone call, if you like, for me might be, hey Joe, it's Scott from Huller House. I'm interested in 12 Smith Street. Joe, we've got a client that is finance approved. They're ready to buy. Actually, we're already under offer with another property just down the road that's off market. So we're getting a little bit of pressure from that seller to move quickly on it and wrap up the deal. But we've just seen 12 Smith Street. My client sent it across to me. We really, really like that property. It looks like it ticks all the boxes for them. So we'd be interested in getting through there as quickly as possible. When's the first opportunity that you could show me through or show the client through?
We've got an open this weekend. I know it's Wednesday today, but this weekend we've got one on Saturday, so you can feel free to come to that.
Pop by.
Yep, cool. So as I said to you, unfortunately, it's not us putting the pressure on it, but it's the sellers on the other property that have got us in a bit of a bind. They've told us if we don't exchange by close of business Friday, they're going to put it openly on the market, and we're not going to let that happen. We'll pursue that property and buy it. But as I said, this looks on paper like it's the right property for us. So what can we do to get in this afternoon or tomorrow morning? Like we're ready to go. We'll buy it unconditionally. We'll have clean conditions, finance approved. What do we need to do to get in that? And while we're there, just want to, we'll talk a bit of Turkey for a second, Joe, as well. This client's, I see you've got it as kind of offers over 850. This client's sitting in that kind of 870, 880 range that they've been offering on other properties. Are we wasting our time on this one?
No, not at all. Definitely, Scott. I will. I've got to speak to my vendor, and they wanted to go to the open.
Joe just laid his cards on the table there. Look at him. Sorry, go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's good. You're coming in with a realistic price because you know the market so well that the agent has put it on there for 850, and you know it's going to go to 890. So you're not even messing around.
Yeah, and the next question will be, so Joe, what buys it today?
Yeah.
What secures it?
Joe's stalling you.
No, I mean,
well, I would say that, and then I won't say another word, right? What buys it, Joe?
Just wait. What buys it today?
Yeah.
That's good.
That was probably one of our most successful role plays on OzProp. We remember we tried that with Teddy Sloan. That was awkward as anything.
Yeah, I mean it's that type of dialogue anyway, and I do it in a conversational way, polite, to the point, always very direct. But I'm constantly fishing for data points, and I'm making a mental note of it the whole time, right? And why I asked you 870 or 880 is because I'm looking for one of two things, right? I'm looking for you to say, no, you're not wasting your time at that level, come along, or yeah, you are, mate. We've already got interest at 900. So they're quoting 850, but instantly I know that it's got to be over 900, right? Or the other way, no, you wouldn't be wasting your time at 870, 880. Look, they've just knocked back 862 and the vendor counted at 887. This happens to me all the time. You've just got to ask the direct questions. You ask the question, you'll very often get a direct response from the agent. Now, the job is to see through the bullshit, right? And who's planting, price positioning you at a certain level, and there's no buyer there at that price, but they want you to believe that there's competition at a certain price, and who's actually telling the truth. And that's a learnt skill. That's just really good listening, asking more follow-on questions to dig further into that rabbit hole and see if you can get any more information out of that. Because if they said, mate, we've already got 900 on the table, you have to pay 900, I'd say, okay, great. Well, they've been at that 870, 880 level on the other property. So I'm going to have to go back to them and see what their capacity is to perform at a higher level. But let me just ask this, because I don't want to waste your time. I'm really conscious of wasting your time and theirs and mine. We're all busy. And because I said to you already that we've got that other property that we're chasing, we're a long way down the path. If we were to come in at a level that was below 9, but we had unconditional terms and the right settlement. By the way, what is the right settlement for your client? What are the terms they're looking for? 30 days? Great. Yeah, we can do 30 days. Yeah, or 90 days. Yeah, sure, we can do 90 days. That's not a problem. If we can do that, would your clients see that as a more favorable offer, or would the offer that you've got in hand still be a stronger trump card than that? And they go, oh, yeah, look, that's subject to the sale of their home, or it's subject to finance. Oh, is it? Yeah, okay, great, no problem. So what I'm doing is I'm getting them to tell me all about this offer that they're not telling any other buyer even exists. And now I know that it's conditional upon
so
the sale.
they're telling you without telling you, so you're basically sort of asking in a roundabout way. So
and I've
really
just
crafty
them with a price that I know we're prepared to pay more for, right? I've just anchored them at a certain level, 870, 880, 870, 880. And the whole time I keep referring to a third party that doesn't exist. I'm using that as leverage. So it's not me. I'm not putting any pressure on you, Joe. But the vendor down the road really wants to sell their property. Otherwise, they're going to put it to market, and we're going to miss that. We're not going to lose that opportunity. So now the pressure's on you, Joe, and your seller. Will you get us in this afternoon or tomorrow morning and before they open for inspection? And will you give me a shot at buying it unconditionally before anyone's even seen it? So that's pushing that door down, knocking that door down politely through a series of very loaded questions.
What questions would you ask if there's no price guide before the first open to get a realistic guide or buy price?
What's the best comparable sale you used with the vendor? What do you mean? What's the best comparable sale I can peg this to, just so I can understand value?
So how'd you stack it up with the vendor?
You're the local expert, Joe. I respect you. You've got great brand and profile in the local area, mate. I'm a beginner. I don't really understand. I'm just learning. It's in an early stage for me. I'd love to pick your brain. Really respect you. You've got a great name in the industry. What's the best comparable sale that you reckon would back up with this one? Every agent, you blow a bit of sunshine up their ass, every agent's going to go, oh, Scott, oh, mate, oh, thanks, buddy, thanks. Oh, I've been working at it so hard, my golf swing, oh, you're talking about real estate? Sorry, okay. And they're going to tell you, oh, it's probably like, 27 Daphne Street sold on Saturday, for 1.6. It's probably, I don't know, it's plus 5% either way of that one, mate, based on what buyers are telling us. They're going to give you some ask questions. What do you think is, if you know what you're looking for, you say to the agent, I know you haven't got a price guide, and same question, what buys it? Okay, you won't tell me. Great. Okay, let me think. What's my next question? What's the best comparable that I can look up that would match where you think this might sit, where I should be comparing with? You won't answer that one? Okay, great. Next question. I just saw 27 Daphne Street sell on Saturday. Do you think this is worth more or less than that in your eyes as a professional? There's so many ways you can ask the same question.
It's hard to not answer that third one, because you actually, to say, you just feel like you have to answer that third one. Like, I challenge anybody not to answer that third question with a higher or lower.
And you get to a point where the agents go, do you know what? I just want to get him off the phone, mate. Things sold on Saturday for 1.6. It'll be either side 1.6. So come along on and have a look. And I'm not buying it. The market will determine market value. That's another throwaway line that they always use. But you had to do 3 comparable sales and a 10% range to the owner. I'm not expecting you to tell me what the 10% range is, but what's the latest and best comparable, or what's the best property on the market currently for sale that you think this competes with? Joe Bob's got one down the road at 44 Jones Street, would you buy that? Oh, no, Jones Street's a busy street, mate. This is better than that. Okay, great. Well, maybe the Jones Street agent will tell you exactly what they want for that house. And all of a sudden you've just worked out that you need to be north of Jones Street. Okay.
Got some data points.
So you just got to think like that of how you can engage them and get the information that you want out of them on your terms.
Such a great point as well, because you will be, if you're in a market and you're buying property in this market, you are going to be talking to 5 agents and literally, I was just actually speaking with this agent about 123 Smith Street. How does this one stack up? Like, you are going to be having those conversations. So you should have those in the back of your mind. Love that. That's such a great eye, such a powerful tool.
What are the ways that people can avoid bidding against themselves? I think one of the first ones you mentioned is like throw out the low ball fallacy, because then you're going to start bidding yourself up. What are some of the other sort of really quick tips and tactics that you can use to do that, to not bid against yourself?
Yeah, well, that's the clear, obvious one that a lot of buyers will do. The other one is, there's probably 2 we should talk about. One is calling an agent's bluff in that situation, where a lot of agents will say to you, you're at 720, thanks for your offer. The vendors would have sold at that level, but it looks like there's another buyer that's, we're expecting another offer to come in this afternoon or tomorrow. They're indicating to us around 750 or 730, 740, whatever the numbers end up being. I think you're going to have to put more on the table to secure this. Normally that's bullshit, because that's what I would use against you as an agent when I was in that seat. I would say that, and I'm doing that to push you one more time. So I'm asking you for your best and final offer. You come in at 720, and then I'm going to use that dialogue against you to see if I can push you another 10, 20, 50 grand. Okay, so it's normally a test at that point, or it was for me anyway as an agent, because then I could turn around to my owner and say, they came in with what they say is their best and final. I've already had one shot at them to push them beyond that, threatening that they're going to lose it to another buyer, and they won't budge, or they gave me another $5,000. That is it. So there's no more money. You need to make your decision on selling on this price or find another buyer. So that was how I not conditioned, but how I got my sellers in a position to accept market, because I exhausted those buyers. So in reverse, you should expect that's going to happen to you when agents are talking to you. And that's when a lot of people will bid against themselves, because they're very emotional and they don't want to miss out at that point. The other major time it happens, and sadly, this happens every weekend at so many auctions back to back across the country, and there's over 2,000 of those at the moment every Saturday or every week, is that because we're in this, what I call the shoulder season that we discussed earlier, you've got properties that have been pitched at a certain level by the agent to say, okay, Jeff, we want to list your property at 10 Smith Street. I reckon I can get you 750 grand. You go, yep, great. 750. Here's the comparables, as Joe just said, from 3 months ago that suggest I'm going to get you 750. Then they're going to go out to market, and there's no way they can quote 750 or even offers over 7, because the market's shifted and it's changed. So now they're going to quote over 600,000 or over 625 or whatever it might be, and they're going to push you up under that cooker, high pressure, emotional pressure cooker, I should say, environment in an auction, and they're going to do the same to the seller. So the seller has got these high expectations, the vendor's got their low expectations, the buyer's got the low expectations on price because the agent set that. And the problem here is where you bid against yourself is it gets to auction, it doesn't meet reserve, you're the highest bidder, and then the agent comes over to you and says, look, Jeff, we're really close to getting this call on the market, but we're not quite there yet. Can you give me another 20? What are you going to do? You've been looking for the Australian average punter looks for 7 months. You've missed 5 properties. This is your 6th property. What do you do, Jeff, in that situation? Like, you can buy this and probably wrap it up for another 20 grand today. What are you going to do? Your wife's pulling on your hand and you're sweating and you're under pressure and the whole auction stopped. Everyone's looking at you.
Everyone's looking at you.
My wife's told me we can't spend more than 600 on this property. If
your wife's right there, ask her again.
Yeah. Look, Jeff, there's been a number.
She's going to beat me with a handbag if I spend more than 600. Yeah.
But Jeff, look, there's a number of people that are here to buy it today. Some of them weren't able to bid under auction conditions. They need a finance clause. There's a number of buyers that have shown interest in this that won't be ready until Monday or Tuesday. You're going to have a lot of interest in this as soon as I put it back on at a fixed price. Mate, I've been helping you and your missus for the last 6 months, 7 months. I've been with you for so many properties. I really like you guys. I want to get this property over the line for you. For another 20 grand, I reckon I can get it wrapped up. Can you give me another 20?
It's 20 grand. Screw it.
It's just 20 grand. And in the background, the auctioneer is breaking it down to small increments, saying, Jeff, it's a cup of coffee a day. It's, they're breaking it down to the smallest possible increment because they want you to think 20 grand is a drop in the ocean. I won't go through the whole role play, but what I'm getting at here is that buyers in that situation, when they're under the blowtorch, will pay that extra 20. But the reality is everyone around you came to buy that property that registered to bid. No one has bid any more than you. So you are market value at that point. It's now time for the agent to go inside and beat their vendor up because they overcooked it to the vendor to win the listing. And that's when you've got to stay strong. So that's the other danger in this market. It's actually a danger in any market, but in particular in this shoulder season market is bad. And we find clients just overspending by tens of thousands of dollars. And you see people overspend by hundreds of thousands of dollars in this situation because it's just so nerve-wracking for Joe Public.
So as a buyer in that situation, could I say, look, actually, we're going to an open home straight after this. There's another property that we like the looks of, but I like yours better. If I give you 600 on the spot, you go and present it to your vendor. Can we buy that property today? Would that sort of work as well?
Yeah, we're confident we're going to beat that price, as I say. So if it's not today, we've got till midnight under auction conditions. Otherwise, we'll get this done on Monday or Tuesday with one of those other buyers. Look, the vendor's here to buy. This is your best opportunity, Jeff. You walk away from here, the vendor's expectations may go north. Once you move from your first mover advantage now, that allows us legally to talk to the underbidders. There's plenty of people here, as you've seen, that have competed for the property today. And if someone goes away and has a think about it, they may well just come back. So the risk, Jeff, is all against you guys. For 20 grand, you can finish this right here and right now. Jeff, don't let it go over 20 grand. You love the house. You've done all the due diligence. You've been with us for 6 months. What are you going to do?
What do you say? What do you
Yeah,
say?
yeah, that is my
What
question.
do
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say
I
to
kind
that?
of wanted to see if I could come up with the answer without asking the question.
I thrive in this. I love these conversations. Like I can't
Yeah.
wait for this to happen to me if it's
Yeah.
bidding against me on a Saturday when I'm representing a client. I love this stuff. It's like contact sport for me. So the same dialogue I use every time is, look, Joe, you wanted this public auction. You chose this method of sale. I tried to buy this 3 weeks ago in week one. You told me that it had to go to auction. Your clients really wanted to see the market. They weren't prepared to sell prior. They wanted to put on it, to get everyone engaged. You've just done that, mate. This is a public auction. Look around you. There's 100 people here. You've done a great job. Congratulations on your marketing efforts. It looks like there's probably 10, 15 people bidding. But, mate, I'm the only person with my hand up last to buy this house. I am market value. It's now time for you to go inside and earn your money as a really good agent. So you turn around and go back inside and you talk to your vendor and you tell them that if you want to sell for market value, it is right there, right now with Scott Aggett. And if you don't take it now, that buyer walks. Over to you.
But isn't that an ultimatum, though? Is that an
But that's
ultimatum?
what it's got to be at that point.
Yeah, okay,
They're looking to put you under pressure.
That's what I was trying to avoid doing because then you
I put that. I mean, I do it politely. I don't. That was probably quite an arrogant way of saying it, just to be theatrical here. But I do that in a polite way. But basically, it's those words. Like you wanted a public auction, you called it. This is your method of sale. It's your game. You did this. You go and fix it.
Underquoting. So shall we define some terms, or is it very clear what
is underquoting and what is it?
Underquoting? Yeah. Well, I mean, underquoting. We've touched on it already. Is when a agent pitches to the vendor or the seller and tells them that they can expect to achieve a certain price, and then goes to the buying public and quotes a figure that's outside of the legal 10% range. So I go and tell Joe that his house is worth $1 million. So legally, I'm allowed to quote 9, 10 to $1 million. And then I go and tell the market that it's 850 plus or 800 plus to drive traffic there and create value to people. That is underquoting. And unfortunately, as much as it in the media is, and from governments and governing bodies is meant to have been stamped out and being heavily policed, it just is a constant in many parts of Australia that we have to deal with, and it's pretty easy to spot, to be honest, as well. Because if you're doing any accurate market research, you'll very quickly see the outliers that just don't make any sense. And those are the properties that are always super busy in this type of market with lots of buyers coming through the open for inspection. They're the ones that get to auction day typically because the agent has got 20 plus interested parties. Whereas everyone else has got 1 or 2 and they try and sell it prior because there's not enough buyer interest in the property. So you can really see which ones are underquoted. There's the odd one that goes crazy and that's out of everyone's control, and I don't have any problem with that. The market will determine where the value sits at the end of the day. So I still like the auction method. I just don't like baiting people into the fight. We'll talk about bait advertising separately. I shouldn't use the word bait here, but underquoting, creating a false, expectation for buyers that they should get involved in a property, spend money doing building and pest inspections or strata searches, contract reviews, and they've got absolutely no chance of buying the property. And what happens typically with those properties as well is the agents will field a number of pre-auction offers, and none of those will be, communicated back to the market. They won't move the guide price, and so there's a double banger really of underquoting and then not moving the guide, and that's an illegal move as well. We negotiate on lots of properties for sure, so we'll have lots of insights. I mean, the other thing that we were going to talk about that was part of that, and the second part of that, and we can jump into any of the questions if you want quickly, was bait advertising. I'll give you a real quick example of how that works and why it's different to underquoting. So the property that we bought in Palm Beach that I discussed earlier was advertised openly at 1.4 million. So it came online at 1.4. We did our market estimate and thought it was safe to pay up to 1.575. What happened with that is we offered 1.385 and it was rejected on the Thursday before the first Saturday open for inspection, sight unseen, because it was 3 tenants. So it was impossible to get in with 3 sets of tenants before the Saturday open. That got rejected. I offered 1.4, the asking price. That got rejected. I offered someone else offered 1.42. sight unseen. That got rejected on the Thursday. On the Friday, we went to 1.45. It got rejected. And the reason it got rejected, and I wanted to stop bidding because we were bidding against ourselves and making that cardinal sin that I talked about, is, but we knew how good an asset was and how far below market value it was. But what the agent was doing was pricing it at a point where he knew he was just going to get tons of interest. So turn up on Saturday at the open for inspection. He had over 30 people inspecting it, tons and tons and tons of viable, interested parties. And then it got on the first open for inspection day to 1.5. So straight away it jumped from 1,385, my offer, 24 hours later, basically already at 1.5. So 100 grand over the asking price. Fast forward 4 days, the owners stuffed up. They tried to get tricky with the terms and conditions with the buyer. The buyer walked. The agent called me back. We ended up renegotiating and buying it for less than we offered. And we bought it in the 1.4s at way below market value, 125 grand below what we thought was market value, and 50,000 below what the other buyer was that was under offer the day before. So if you hang in the market and you go back for a second bite of these things, sometimes you can get some really good deals for unknown reasons. I don't know how they managed to stuff that up, the sellers. They just got greedy. But that's bait advertising, and it's not illegal. They put it at a price that they knew would generate tons of inquiry, and that competition would make it easy for them to drive people from 1.4 north of that. And they were able to do that really quickly. So that's a really good, price positioning trick that good agents that know what they're doing are going to deploy to get a result they want really fast.
Well, do you buy because of inflation or not buy because of rate rises? Like, it's a good question to ask. How does the economy affect what you think about your buying decision? That's what I thought it would be worthwhile to talk to that, because we are hearing about rate rises. We are hearing about inflation. We are hearing about people bricking it and getting scared, and the market shifting and all of this. Like, how does this affect the buying that you do? One, for your personal, and two, your thoughts on the stuff that your clients are buying.
Well, I think all I can talk about on that point is personal, how it impacts me, when I go to transact properties, because everyone's going to have their own view of it. And I can't really I don't want to talk people in or out of transactions based on what's happening in the media. So I always fall back on, you buy property when you can afford to buy it and when the time's right for you financially. And I fall back on my gut feel or my, working knowledge of the property market as best I can. That gives me confidence that I know that there's going to be demand long-term in the areas that I want to buy in. So, I have a different strategy to a lot of the people in this group, as we've discussed many times before. Like, I love flipping properties for the thrill of it, and I enjoy that. I like buying where I live from a lifestyle perspective. So I put a lot of money into my own principal place of residence. That's not for everyone. I totally get it. There's lots of ways to make money, whatever floats your boat. So I never really dictate what clients do to suit me. It's always about them. But I think long-term, I'm confident in the areas that I'm buying in that demand is going to be high. So I don't get caught up reading the news. I just, like, the rates go up, rates go down, inflation goes up, it'll probably come down, right? Like, I can afford to buy the house that we want to live in. If I can't afford it, I won't buy it. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So I don't try and time the market like that. I try to buy assets that are undervalued, that I can build in, manufacture equity, and I can do that in a down market, or I can do it in an up market. We talked about my purchase of the development site in Mermaid Waters, Mermaid Beach last year, that, in the hottest market that I'd ever seen as a buyer, I managed to find 4 potential development sites off market in 1 week. Like, there is opportunities everywhere if you know how to find them.
About the overalls that Joe talks about in the show, his quote.
Yeah, you can find these things. And there's plenty of those in a down market. There's plenty of them in a flat market. And there's plenty of them in an up market. So, yeah, you just got to work out when the right time for you to buy is.